Alex, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. You come from an investment banking background.
Yes.
Talk to me about fraud in the investment banking world. Is it completely different to what the average person experiences?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you work in investment banking, you're dealing with clients who have a lot more money than the average person, right? But they have access to resources and advisors who can really guide them if something goes wrong. So it's very different from the retail side because that's the average layperson. They may not have the know-how how to protect themselves. They may not know who to go to. And also, it's a lot less money and more day-to-day expenses that I think for these type of high net worth, ultra high net worth clients maybe aren't quite aware of, I guess. So it's very different. And oftentimes you're dealing with like big banks and you have private bankers that you're dealing with who's actually executing your transactions for you. There's no business app. There's no business banking app that you can go in and do it because it just requires like a more extensive process.
You're calling someone up basically and saying, can I make this transaction, please? And they do it for you.
You could do that. But even if you were to call up your banker to set up the meeting and set up the transaction, you're always going to have to send the email requesting the transaction. And in this day and age with where we are technology-wise, that's very dangerous because your email can easily get hacked now. Your phone number can get spoofed. And usually when someone calls in to execute that transaction, the private banker, and this is standard process, they actually have to pick up the phone. They have to use the phone number that they have for the customer on record. Not saying, hey Nick, I need you to send out $1 million, but my phone's not working. So can you call me at this number instead? That's actually outside of protocol. You have to call the official phone number on record.
But given the capabilities of phone spoofing and things like that, doesn't that then become a problem if some scammer can find out the phone number of a high net worth individual and then call the bank pretending to be them spoofing their number?
But even if they called the bank doing that, the banker would still have to hang up, call the phone number back, just like you would do on like the back of your credit card. You call that number because you know that it's not going to go through, it's going to go through to the right person. And they're going to use the common tactics, urgency, threats, emotional ploys to get you to do it immediately. And they're banking that you're so busy that you're not going to be paying attention, which is quite common for everyone.
100%, especially if you're an incredibly busy high net worth individual who has lots of money and lots of decisions you need to make every single day. I mean, that kind of thing's going to slip through the net. Is there a particular kind of case or investigation you can remember from your career working in investment banking and fraud that sticks out or you learn something in particular from, without naming any names, obviously?
Yeah, actually. So usually they do these. It's just like any other fraud matter. They will try to execute a payment right before a long weekend, a major holiday. And one time I was off because it was Christmas. It was like the day after Christmas. And I got a call from, I forget, one of the chief compliance officers head of the business or something. He's calling me while driving to Vermont or something.
Somewhere in the mountains, snowy, Christmassy.
On Christmas Day or the day after Christmas, saying, Alex, we just got an attempted payment transaction request for $650 million.
What?
And thank God they were actually in the process of sending it out because it was for actually a really big deal.
Acquiring a company or something like that.
It was like a debt refinancing. So it was a corporate bond. So yeah. So they fat-fingered it. So it got kicked back, and then they realized, like, oh, we almost sent out a fraudulent attempt. And they didn't do the callback verification, any of that stuff. So they're calling me, and they said, hey, this happened. Is this going to ruin my Christmas? Do we need to do something? And then, once he told me what happened, I said, okay, it's fine. There's no one in the network. We can deal with this on New Year's, after New Year's. Just enjoy your holiday. This will ruin your first week in January, but enjoy your holiday.
Don't worry about it now.
Yeah, it's not a major incident, right? But a lot of this, but oftentimes when I see these, it's always the same playbook, no matter what, because fraudsters are not going to go after like a major bank who has like the top of the line security system and cybersecurity protocols. They're going to go for like the smaller family offices, small to medium sized businesses who don't have the best cybersecurity and procedures in place. And oftentimes it's because they've been hacked. So there's been a cyber criminal sitting in their network for probably upwards for a year, learning their processes, learning their patterns of behavior. And then, and oftentimes they're watching these deals go back and forth, and then they're waiting for that right moment when it's a deal, people are so gassed out after working around the clock for 5 days, they're not even seeing straight, and they might send the money out. And because these type of deals, you have so many eyes on the transaction. You have the law, you have, if it's a loan, right, you have the underwriter, then you have the lawyers, then you have the client lawyers, and all these other people, and you see emails going back and forth, and then you don't know what's what and who's saying what, and you're not checking the emails, so it easily happens. It's always like Microsoft 365 that's compromised because someone clicked on a link, and then they're setting up all these rules and mailboxes, and no one's paying attention. It's always the same issue. It got to the point where every time it happened, like I would ask them like the same 5 questions, and I knew exactly what happened already. So it was very interesting.
That was not something I knew about prior to a particular story I worked on, where we watched a group of scammers who were running a load of data that they got stolen from educators, basically schools, and they were using username password combos, hacking into school networks, and then basically sending out invoice requests within these school networks. But I was in their computers at the time, so I was watching them do it. And these guys were so good at setting up rules. They'd have entire conversations going on that no one ever knew was happening.
Yeah.
Because they'd delete them from the sent items, they'd delete them from deleted items. The rule would be set up so that whatever reply came back into the inbox went straight to archive. And there were people within the organization who were literally talking to their colleagues who were sitting across from them, but never saying, hey, did you actually send that email?
Yeah.
And this whole conversation was happening away from someone's foresight in their inbox. Yeah. Incredible.
On top of that, they'll actually add another rule. While they're at it, they'll create another email address, a spoofed email address, and they'll set up an auto forwarding rule, because in the event that they get kicked off the network, they're still going to get the email. It's
still going to go through to that slightly corrupted version of the email address or whatever that they made.
And it happens all the time. I would often have to get my IT guys internally and have a conversation with their IT guys, because I said, all right, I need my nerds to talk to your nerds, because I don't know how to explain this. Like, I can tell you where to go, but I can only go so far. And then and everyone gets freaked out, because all of a sudden, there's me, there's my cybersecurity IT guys, they have their cybersecurity IT guys, they have the head of business, general counsel, and whoever else. Sometimes the CEO. And they're all really freaked out, because for me, in my role, I would basically be that person who would tell them, you're going to stop business until we know that their network is clear, and you can't continue any more transactions until I say so. And I think that's what you have to do, because we don't have banking apps, right? And honestly, a lot of these CEO type fraud email compromise events can easily be solved if you picked up the phone. It is actually quite simple.
Human-to-human interaction for the win, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know how it's looking now, right, in the age of AI and deepfakes and all these things, which I'm really glad that I don't really deal with that anymore, because that is another layer now that's going to change the game and how that plays out. I have no idea. But I hope that it doesn't change it so much that you could still pick up the phone and get to the right person, AI or not.
Alex, that was fascinating. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Nick.